going on today. Tell me what's going on today.
Oh, there we go. Okay, test.
Yeah, sounds like too loud. Way too. Yeah, sounds like too loud.
Ooh, bassy.
Also, we can't have the music coming through the speakers, or else it will cause feedback.
So,
Can you see if mine is, see if mine is to yours?
hello. Test. How's the sound now?
You're wrong about OBS. Just don't do it.
Did you? No, she's just not doing it right.
Well, you just type /post.
Music's not on. So the music's not playing now. Why is the music not playing?
Well, that song just ended.
Oh.
Oh.
Nowadays it's like they always say where there's plenty money there's smoke, you know. And there's a lot of money in the business nowadays, and the artists them is fighting against each other. There's absolutely no unity, and that's not a good thing.
Now it's not muted.
Okay, now we're good.
Now we're live. Audio is live.
Hopefully the sound is good.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Oh, let me check.
Now it's not okay. Now we're good.
Ooh.
If anything is too high,
Yeah. Jesus. Who said that? Is it a little loud? All right, we're testing things out. Have patience with this Twitch stream. Thank you, Abdallah Heisendong, for sending all your fantastic people around. I'm assuming we're live. I'm talking like we're live.
Good thing having your head.
Who's that? Generally.
So did the music stop?
I don't know.
see on the mic, turn down the gain portion. It's on the other side to the top. Just turn that down.
Okay. How's that? Is that better? Is the audio not deafening now? All right. Feedback?
Did we lose the music?
Okay, you guys lost the music.
Oh. Okay, music's going. It's not too bad for you.
How we doing? Are we ready to go? Twitch sphere. I'm assuming this is live. I'm talking to myself. Oh, I'm not talking to myself. Not talking to the 3 other people in the room. I'm talking to you. Heisendong, thanks so much for hosting us today. Hope you had a good stream, and I'm glad you're sticking around to work out. Heisendong is setting up his own little home gym, so he's going to follow along with us, just like he's in the academy. You'll notice some different things today. We're getting ready for a big event with EJLX in the Mississauga International Center. If you're around the GTA, we've got BioSteel gear. They've hooked us up. And my team will get me a little BioSteel water before we get rolling too hard and heavy today. And we've also got our little banner set up. You'll see this at the big event. So feel free, if you're in the GTA, pop by our booth. Heisendong will be there for sure, and KP will be making some appearances. It should be a fun time. So without further ado, welcome to Sweaty Sundays. We might be rebranding this as Scotty Super Sundays, so you can make your votes heard now live on Twitch. Let us know which name you like better. The theme of today is going to be some anatomy, functional anatomy. Heisendong was talking about getting some exercise going. He's trying to weave in some exercise intensity. And Heisendong, he's got a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he's already familiar with exercise and intensity and movements. So he's got a good baseline. For a lot of us gamers, we don't have a baseline. I didn't learn mine, the baseline of anatomy and fitness, until I went to school for it. So we're going to cover today a bit more anatomy, functional anatomy that's important for you as gamers and streamers, or just fans watching your games and stream. So to start with, let's look at our sitting position. So I'll get into my pretend sitting position as best I can. So if I've been sitting in a chair for a while gaming, a few things tend to happen, right? Head neck goes forward, shoulders round forward. If I'm in my gaming posture, I can end up like this. So it puts a lot of stress on our neck, upper back, shoulder blades. And from a function and performance side of things first, if you're trying to perform better in gaming and esports is a cognitive demanding sport. So you need your brain functioning optimally. So nutrition, sleep obviously matter. From a physical health standpoint, if those nerves that send muscles all the way down to those hands are compressed or impeded at all, you don't get the same signaling. And you can get decreased performance. And with gaming in particular, it's about hand-eye coordination and rapid hand gestures. So we need this region of our bodies to function optimally and sit as optimally as possible. That's why they sell ergonomic chairs for hundreds of dollars, but even then we tend to default into poor postures. So the big 3 sections we're going to talk about today when it comes to anatomy and build some exercises around are one, we're calling your torso. So this is from your hips to the top of your head. This region here is essential from a balance side of things to keep things functioning. 2, the big seat of blood flow are your extremities, so legs and lower body in particular. If these muscles don't work well and regularly, you don't get good blood flow, which means you get deficits in performance. And the third area we're going to talk about more generally, but we'll get specific, is your core. So really the central, the deep musculature and the deep structures that there are our spine, our neutral spine, and when you think core. So we got larger muscles in the trunk, deep muscles in the core, and larger muscles of our lower legs. So in the exercises today, we'll do strengthening, flexibility, and endurance work to get these muscles functioning well, to keep the joints moving well, and keep your nervous system firing optimally. It's for gaming performance In pain management, oftentimes it's about your nervous system's health. So with that being said, we're going to move slowly through the movements to really get a feel for which joints are working and where we're getting a feel of things. So with everything we do at the Game Without Pain Academy, pain is your guide. If things cause you pain enough to want you to back away, that's a red flag, so probably back away and come hook up with RMTs like our man Mark Lee, who's on the keys today, answering questions, waving his little hand for you. Strong little massage hand, granted. So they're the type of people you go see when things are acutely in pain. If you've got some discomfort doing these things, but you can work through it, things feel a little stiff, but they get looser as you go, that's a good sign. It just means you're moving well. And as you get stronger and more deeply into some of these movements, you might get a little bit of a burn and create some heat and intensity and that feel-good sensation. And that's your muscles talking, increasing their energy demands, making you more efficient and durable as a gamer. So back to our central anatomy, we're starting with the head and neck. So we've got a part of our spine here called your cervical spine. In this part of our spine, when our head sits effectively, can be pretty relaxed. As soon as our head position varies, your head goes from weighing about 10 or 12 pounds to upwards of 40 pounds the further your head is forward. So all these muscles, your upper trapezius, levator scapula, don't worry about the names of the muscles, but think of this region, this chain of muscles, have to work extra hard to keep your head on straight. That causes fatigue, wasted energy, limited blood supply, oxygen, and nervous information flow, which means decreased performance to these guys, your essential motor requirements really for gaming. So again, head posture equals wasted energy and decreased performance. So to get our head sitting more effectively, we're just going to talk to the muscles and talk to the joints. So this vertebrae in your neck should be able to take you through big full ranges of motion. So my face can almost get parallel to the ceiling. My chin should be able to get down to my chest. And looking forward, my chin should be able to reach the collarbone without me having to mess around. So that's a basic functional anatomy test to see if your function allows your anatomy to do what it's designed to do. So it's a great warm-up to start talking to these segments. Again, today we're talking about the central core and these upper torso muscles. We're talking a bit of both in this range. So we're going to use your breathing.
There's a question you, Scotty.
Yeah, shoot. What's the question? I can't read it. My head's going in circles.
Is it bad to sit cross-legged for long periods of time?
So sitting for any prolonged period of time isn't the best. Sitting cross-legged, if we get down there, and you should be able to stay with me here. Sitting cross-legged for long periods of time, only if it causes you pain and discomfort. At least sitting in cross-legged position, it balances your pelvis a little bit. I encourage you to change legs on a regular basis. So sitting for cross-legged, it's good to promote mobility in your hips, but sitting for any period of time is still sitting and not moving around. So a lot of people sit for meditation, and if you go to meditation retreats, they make sure to balance sitting hours of meditation with active hours of doing other work, stretching activities like yoga and Tai Chi, or daily tasks. So sitting for any prolonged period of time is not great. What you want to be aware of, and I hope this answers your question, is still your spine position. So after a while, sitting cross-legged like this is going to cause this region we're talking about now, your upper neck region, upper back region, some fatigue, and maybe irritate your lower back. If you're strong enough to sit like this all the time, then sitting cross-legged is a great little core exercise. I hope that answers that question. Now Mark, you can pay attention to the feed, and maybe Ben, you can pull that back up for me. So back into our anatomy lesson for the day, we're starting with that cervical spine, this upper region. So we want this segment to move nice and fluidly, pain-free, nice big circles. So we're talking to all the muscles in around the neck, the deep spinal muscles, as well as some of the more superficial muscles in the neck, which can get very tight for gamers and lead to things like headache, difficulty focusing and using your eyes effectively. All this musculature loops in. So when you're doing this, you can even take your eyes for a big long walk as you go around. So getting this area mobile allows us to be better aware of when we're into a poor position or a better position. So we need to talk to these segments first, then worry about getting them strong. And we get them strong with advanced exercises like hinges. So an exercise like this might not seem like it, We're getting a stretch, we're getting some strengthening in here, but we're really using all these neck muscles to keep our head in a good position. We have a train going by our studio right now, so if you can't hear, bear with me. So when we're talking about these muscles, we want to get them mobile and loose, and then get them stable and strong. So we get them loose so they can go from bad positions to better positions. And then we use exercise, pushing and pulling, even exercises like squatting, to practice this. A lot of people go wrong in their exercise when they forget about this important region, especially as gamers. We need to protect this with all our might. So whenever you see us do an exercise in the academy that's a leg exercise, we're not getting lazy with the neck. We're going to make sure the head and neck is in a good position. So we're training these guys for stability after we've loosened them up. So there's an essential breakdown of this upper neck region. Pretty simple, we'll go into more detail, especially if you've got aches and pains. Please send us a note, join the academy and get some more details. That's a good starting point. Moving down the anatomy chain. We're working on anatomy today. Oh, got some questions? Music, well, all right. So I'll try and keep an eye on the Twitch stream, and my team here will be paying attention as well. And if you boys can hook me up with some water, it'd be amazing. Our BioSteel jug is unfortunately empty right now. I hope it is. So without further ado, we're moving down into the upper thoracic region, or upper spine. So you've got cervical spine, which your head and neck attaches into your shoulder blades and chest. And then we got our thoracic spine. Oh, we're going Spider-Man today. Spider-Man. Tasty.
Civil War preview.
Nectar of the gods. So now we're moving into our thoracic spine. So again, if we think about sitting and gaming, if we're gaming for long amounts of time, the head and neck goes and it pulls that mid-upper back region out of place. So that's your movement. So we need to have mobility and control to reset our posture and strengthen endurance in this area so that we don't default too far away. The better posture you have when you exercise means the better initial position you're in for gaming. So we're going to start ideally in gaming, and we're all going to get distracted in the game, looking for things down screen, and then before we know it, we're in this position. Again, strangling our blood flow, limiting our nervous system's output, and then decreasing performance, and let alone potentially contributing to aches and pain and injury. So these are the three things we're trying to avoid so you can game better, longer, enjoy watching your favorite streamers like Abdallah, Heisendong stream and do his thing. This is what we're going for. So when we're getting these mobility exercises, how often do you suggest getting up and moving around when gaming for a long period of time? That's a great question, so I'm going to address that question now. There's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to picking your frequency. Is A, what's your goal? So if you're trying to lose weight or really change your body composition, the more you get up and move around and the more intensely you move, the better. If you're just trying to keep ahead of injury, there's a mechanism that our bodies go through called creep. This is a mechanism where if we sit for long periods of time, our muscles get lazy, and then we start to hang off our ligaments. And this can cause compression, especially on the discs of our back. This mechanism takes about 20 minutes. So if you want to get up regularly and you're not worried about interfering with your gaming time, set an alarm for between 20 and 30 minutes. And that's an effective period of time where, depending on your endurance, you can hold a good position for a while, and then as you get tired, you might drift away, and then reset yourself. If you don't have a good exercise practice and you're not strong, you won't reset yourself. So a 20-minute window might be better. If you've got some strength and endurance and you're doing your exercises, you can push that to 30, maybe even 40 minutes, again, depending on how strong and aware you are of your posture. I hope that answers your question. There was some feedback on stream there that said as often as you can. They told me not to sit for more than 30 minutes. Without getting some fluid movement in there. And I think that's generally a good goal. 30 minutes seems about the average length of most games and matches, so if you can get up at least in between matches, fantastic. But if you got some real aches and pains or some real pain, you might want to look to even as little as 20 minutes before getting up and moving. Cool. Heisendog. All right, sorry. Heisendog, I didn't say it. That's a dog. I'm trying to catch my, keep an eye on the stream here. So back to our functional anatomy for the day. We talked about your cervical spine. We've done a basic warm-up exercise for your neck and shoulders. And then we looked at every exercise as a way to practice that strength. So whether you're doing squats and hinges like these exercises, just working on hinging, these are all good neck strengthening exercises. Even exercises like push-ups can be a great way to strengthen your neck or irritate it. So a good way to look at a push-up, if I keep my head position, good neck strength. If I lose my neck position, I'm going to irritate that region. So every exercise, if you're thinking about it, becomes a good neck exercise. And down into our thoracic spine, the region we're talking about next in our anatomy lesson for today. So a good warm-up for that thoracic spine are big shoulder shrugs and circles. So you're going to roll your shoulders forward, roll them up as high as you can, and back and down. We had a request for suggestions on how to keep your posture straight. Like, for example, sitting on the edge of your chair. So it's a good question. And one good cue for keeping your posture straight is having a little trick, a little tool around. So I always suggest all of our clients and Academy members get a broomstick or a dowel and just periodically have this around to make sure that you're in a good straight position. So if you're finding yourself losing your posture, you set that on, it's not touching your head, you know you're out of a good position. So that's one trick, having one of these things around on a regular basis. You can do things like scooch to the edge of your chair and make sure you're set up nice and tall. Or you can get right to the back of your chair, depending on how your chair is structured, and that can help you get nice and tall. And then your biggest trick for how to reset your posture is using tools. If you don't have someone around to remind you, using a tool like a dowel, or even getting on the wall to remind yourself what good posture feels like. So on the wall is your butt, your shoulder blades, and your head, and that should set you up with ideal posture. So use something to remind you. So the edge of your chair can be really helpful if that works for you. Back to this thoracic spine or upper part of your posture. This is often where we lose it as far as keeping that back straight. So a great warm-up again is big shoulder circles. You'll see us do this a lot in the Academy. This is one of the exercises we advocate for pre and post gaming, let alone mid gaming. Gets the shoulder blade and all the muscles around your shoulder blade really talking. So if you watch, you should see a stretch in my shirt. My shirt grabs and squeezes and pulls around. So I'm going to talk to all of the muscles in and around my mid-back and get them warmed up. So that's an A exercise. A B exercise for a bit more demanding movement is to get these muscles spinning and twisting. So facing you guys, you'll see my shoulder internally rotate on the right and externally rotate on the left. So I'm reaching and twisting. So now I'm starting to talk to all the muscles around my shoulders, some of the muscles in my neck, and now I'm starting to talk down my arm a little bit. So a great exercise sequence to warm up and talk to all those muscles. By creating some length and stretching on things, you get a stretch through these arm muscles. And we talked about your trunk. Oftentimes people complain of elbow pain, wrist pain, and hand pain during gaming. And some of those problems can start all the way up here. So our little Sweaty Sunday super workout today is going to start with some shoulder movement. So Abdallah, if you're joining in and playing around with this, you should be nice and warmed up by now. And anyone who's going through these movements step by step, here's a quick reminder of the sequence. So we're doing nice big neck circles, nice big shoulder circles, 3 to 5 each direction, nice big groove, and then getting in some movements through those shoulders. And we can stay down on our knees if you want some extra stretch on other muscles that get tight. How long is this session going to last? So this is going to take probably about an hour or so, a little less than that probably. Someone's shoulders are popping like mad. Oxygen's playing around. Smokey McDougan, you can play around as long as you want to play around. Like Heisendog's getting a good workout in right now. And as I get working the rest of my lower body, I'm going to push forward and get a little bit of a stretch as I do some of these movements. So if you're playing around with us, we can get a stretch in the bottom half in our hips and some work in the top half. So the anatomy lesson is going to last for probably another 5 or 10 minutes, Smokey, and then we'll get into some serious workout with things. So back to the regions of our body, the ones that are important for gaming. We've gone through the cervical spine, we've done some shoulders, we started talking the arms, and you notice I'm getting into the hips next. As we sit for long periods of time, these muscles stop working so well. We literally get basically no information flow. Your butt starves, the muscles in the hips from sitting for long periods of time get all compressed, and they can pull on our lower back. So as a way to strengthen this part of our back and stretch things out, this type of half kneeling position is fantastic. So getting up on one knee if it's pain-free. Tuck your pelvis around to get a little bit of strength and stiffness in your belly, and then you're going to push forward to get a stretch in the hip flexor. So in gaming, again, we get into this seated position, everything starves of information. So, to get a little stretch on things, it's critical. We want to open the body up so you get more blood flow, more information flow. So anyone that's got lower back aches and pain, oftentimes lack of flexibility here and here can contribute to your lower back pain. If you've got lower back pain, you're not getting well or enjoying things. So if you're joining us now, we're going through a bit of anatomy today, going through some flexibility, and anyone that's sticking around with Heisendong's following along with these exercises for sure right now. I know he's getting a little stretch going on, but he likes the intensity, so we're going to get there in a second. We're going to go through some strengthening movements for each of these areas we've looked at. So we're stretching out the hips now, and we're going to add in some arm and shoulder work as well. And you notice from my little pit stains, I've already got some warmth going on here. It doesn't take much to get a little move going. I like killing two birds with one stone, so I'm getting a stretch in my hips and my upper body moving a little bit. There's no wrong way to do this. You make a little dance, a little pre-game, mid-game dance. The goal is to get you a little warm and feeling a bit super on Sundays. So I'm upstanding again. So we did a little stretch in there, and now I'm going to get into some stretching in the back of my legs and strengthening this region we talked about. So back to the anatomy lesson. We got our head and neck, setting that up. We got our upper back, setting that up. And now we're going to push into a stretch without losing my lower back position. Someone just cranked up the fan in here, so if it sounds like we're on a beach and there's a breeze in the air, you're wrong, unfortunately. We're still in our little studio. There's just a serious fan going now. Hopefully it doesn't take my head off. It's kind of scary. Anyways, back to the business at hand. Shoulder set, head set, pushing our butt back, almost like you're going to tip over backwards. Get a nice stretch in there. So when we sit for long periods of time, hamstrings, muscles in the back of your leg, this back chain, and the muscles in the front get tight. So we want to strengthen and stretch these guys and use these muscles, the big glutes, to straighten you back up again. So we're just about done our first half of the anatomy lesson. Next half will continue next week. And we're about to get into the exercise intensity stuff. So now that we got some blood flow into our lower body, we stretched out the legs, we got a good head position, we'll start to get a bit creative. I'm going to get a sip of water before we do, and make sure that you're fueling well. My flexibility is far too low to do that. All right, Griffler, no problem. So if your flexibility is too low to try this hinge, not a problem, it's a tough task. You can work on just a toe touch. So if you take a nice deep breath in, exhale, and forward bend wherever you can go. If you get a stretch there, that's fine. Exhale and see if you can go a little further, a little further, a little further. Get what you get. There's no end goal. I was a guy in high school that could barely do this. Now, some practice, I can get right down. But start where you can start. If these muscles are really tight, using a desk is a great way to start. So if you get your leg up on a desk, and stretching every day does wonders for sure. So this is a nice way to get a little hamstring stretch without having to worry so much about your balance. So pop one leg up, and you're going to push your butt back to get a stretch. Yeah, Dead Stroke Puppy, he does his stretches every day, right? No. You gotta get Marks and you gotta get in here doing this. You gotta come play with me. Abdallah right now, I know he's home stretching doing this stuff. So this is another way to stretch your hamstrings out. It's not quite as demanding as this. And try and keep your back straight. Is that Father Chuck? So don't worry, if you can't keep your back straight, you can still get a stretch. You won't get the same strengthening, but you'll still get a nice stretch in the hamstrings. If you want to strengthen the back and get the stretch, Father Chuck, get your foot up, and you can work it that way. So you get a nice big stretch, and you can stay nice and tall. So when it comes to flexibility, there's two ways to do it. One is to let everything go loose. That's one way to stretch. Two is to really push in to the stretch. So in this previous exercise that I showed you, I was really pushing my hips in, Father Chuck, really trying to push back into that chain. So my stretch is lower. When I get loose and let everything go, my stretch is now even lower down and a little bit of my back. So you can go loosely into stretches or stiff and really try and dig on a big stretch. Both are great. The goal is to get you moving. So do what feels good, it's pain-free, and hang out for nice breathing. So we're going to get a little more demanding and challenging. Play it for a little balance. If you tuned in last week, we talked about your feet being really valuable for your brain. Your feet have all kinds of proprioception, and that's why there's reflexologists and practitioners that spend their whole lives just working on feet. So if we get our feet talking, it helps get our brain talking. So standing on one foot if you can, we're going to do some mobility drills. So we're going to try and do one big sweep up. And if this is tough for you, you can grab onto something for balance and try the same drill. If you're good, you can try no hands. So what we're doing now is we're getting some hip work. We've been sitting, and we're going to come back to sitting and play some more games or watch some of the streams today. We need our hips to function really well, and we need some balance. So the theme of the day is anatomy. What we're talking about now is mobility in your hips so that you can do bigger exercises like squatting. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant for a second and talk about some of the videos I've seen some of the athletes, esports athletes posting. A lot of these teams now, the professional teams, have strength conditioning coaches. Some are retired football players. It's a pretty dynamic crowd. They're doing exercises called kettlebell swings. Kettlebell swings are great for stretching and strengthening basically your whole body, but if done poorly, they're a perfect way to injure the back. So when you pick exercises for intensity, and we're going to do some more intensity-driven exercises today, you still want to make sure you remember this bit of anatomy we talked about. Head and neck position, upper back position, critical. If your knees, whose knees are cracking like? Slot is life. All right. So if your knees are cracking, again, pain is your guide. So a little snap, crackle, pop is all right. And when you can do some more stretching and flexibility for those knees. But if they're snap, crackle, and popping as you're doing your circles, again, pain is your guide. Anything painful? Is that thing killing the sound? All right. Good. All right, nice. So I'm worried about the fan chopping off my head or being too loud for streaming. It's stable, right? It's a little scary.
Can you feel it?
Oh yeah, it's much nicer in here. All right, fantastic. No, it's not painful, just concerning. All right, at least you're laughing your ass off. It's all right. So snapping and cracking in the knee, snapping and cracking in the knees. It could be an indication of what's called crepitus, which is if the muscles are really tight or not strong enough on the joint can kind of grind a little bit. And it might be bits of cartilage, might be a variety of things. I, for example, lost a chunk of cartilage in this knee and had previously injured this knee as well. Before anyone taught me how to move, I just played a lot of basketball and sport and beat the crap out of them. So I get a little snap, crackle, and pop in there. It can be an early indication of some arthritis. So what you want to do is, as quickly as possible, get into the academy, get into some kind of stretching and conditioning program to keep these muscles around your knees really supple, flexible, and loose so you don't get too much pressure, and strong enough so things don't get overly compressed. But again, if it's not painful, just a little freaky, be too worried about it. So if you're joining in now, we're going to get a little more dynamic with things. We're going to start to play around with some balance. So people like to toss on weights, they like to do kettlebells, dumbbells, all kinds of stuff. When really, all you need for a bit of sweat and to practice these essentials is your body weight. I like playing sports, so I like to move around a little more athletically. I also love games like Destiny, so I picture my hunter in some of these drills, flying across, catching himself on rock faces. I get a little geeky with this stuff. So if you've got pain in your knees, you want to make sure when you're stepping here, you're just stepping and testing your balance. No pain, you can give a little hop. And if you want to get crazy, you can get right down with a bit of a lunge. Pretty challenging. I don't need any weights in my hands. It's fun, and I'm practicing this posture that we talked about all the time today. So again, the theme is anatomy today, in particular head, neck, shoulder, and hip. So as I catch myself for these lunges, I'm not getting lazy. I'm not catching myself like this. I'm practicing this good anatomy every time I change my position. Everything's fixed. So I get good practice for my core, good strength for my head and neck, and I can get pretty dynamic with these drills. If you have any questions, again, toss on some Twitch, and if you're at Heisendong, this one's for you. I know you love your push-ups. I know you're getting ready to do hundreds of them every time you die on stream. So I'll give you some tips. And this is for everyone who's going to join us to do push-ups in the academy or play along. Great upper body exercise. We hop around a little bit for your lower body to test your balance and test your ability to keep these drills in mind. Into the push-up, you can start from your toes. If you're a bit of a noob, you can go to your knees or you've got any aches and pains. But remember, the head position is critical. So Heisenong, this is my challenge for you. How many push-ups can you do keeping the stick touching your head, your butt, and between your shoulder blades? So that's good neutral spine. What? 1,002. Come on, Mark, count right. So that's a trick. If you're worried about, you don't have a stick. Come on, you gotta have a broom or something in your house. But try to keep it straight, good man. Critical. Who's doing new push-ups, right? So new push-ups off the knees. Not new, but just modified. But sticks are fantastic. So if you can't get yourself a stick, get a buddy to poke you a little bit and make sure you're in the right position. So, Father Chuck, you gonna join in? So, again, with the stick on 3 points, if push-ups are tough for you, here's a nice modification. You can go from your knees and work on some core strength. So we got opposite arm and leg. This is called a bird dog. Again, practicing this good head and neck position, practicing your shoulder strength. Great exercise for your core, shoulder and arm. And we get a little hip. Tough to keep that stick there the whole time, granted. So you can roll it off once you have the idea and get a little more creative. So I'll face you now so you get a different view on things. I don't know if you can see me here. What I can try and do once I'm in here is draw some shapes. So I can draw boxes. And I get to challenge my posture in some different ways. So Abdallah, if you're getting tired here, having a tough time with those push-ups, you can move into some bird dogs. Good strength for the wrists, good strength for your core, and good practice for your head and neck position. So again, looking from the side, I'll do my other way. I'm picturing 90 degrees, 90 degrees. You'll see this a lot in the academy. Again, great for this upper neck strength, excellent for this mid-back strength, lower back strength, and some shoulder strength. And we're even getting hip mobility here. So it's like 17 birds for the price of one here if you get this one down. So as we kick and extend, you're making sure you're going only so high as you can without losing your back. So make sure that back feels nice and locked in. So we're going to reach back and kick. The harder you kick, the more work it is to brace yourself. Because if you kick too hard, you lose position. So we're making sure we keep a nice position. I can start doing some different shapes. Whew. Oh, I guess it'd be a fair amount of work. We have some more questions. Father Chuck, you'll pass. You had rotator cuff problems in the past. Push-ups really hurt your shoulders. So I'll address this now. Push-ups are a fantastic upper body exercise, but again, if you don't have good head and neck control, good shoulder strength, it's a lot of work on your body. So Father Chuck, what you can do to practice some upper body strength without irritating the shoulders so much is literally just going through the movement. So I don't know if you played Street Fighter back in the day, a little even just pretending like you're tossing a little power ball or energy ball, strengthens and talks to those muscles in the shoulders. So if you pull in like you're at the back of a push-up, I like this position a bit more stable here, I can just push forward. And you can create some stiffness and tension in these muscles even without weight. So if you slide your shoulder blades and your arms back and push forward with a good breath and try and really squeeze at the end there, you can get a lot of communication to these muscles. When we're talking about mid-game and pre-game and just keeping these muscles and these joints lubricated and healthy, you don't need to be pushing your body weight around to get the benefit of this movement. So even without load, you can work on these muscles. And I'm just mimicking a push-up. So I'm coming to the ground and pushing away. So Father Chuck, if you've got rotator cuff issues, even the push-up motion without load can be advantageous. If you want to get crazy, you can sweep and do a fly motion. And again, look at the sweaty armpit stains I got going on here. I can get warm just doing this. So what I'm doing in this motion is talking to all these muscles in my upper back. And the anatomy theme today is going to permeate everything we do. So if you watch my shoulder blades now on my shirt, as they squeeze back, I get muscles talking all across my back, and as I squeeze forward, I get muscles in my front. So whether it's a push-up motion straight back, or more of a fly, I can talk to all the muscles in my rotator cuff, or a lot of them at least, and muscles in that mid-back, and keep my neck stable. So Father Chuck, give that a try and see how it feels to go through the push-up motion without weight. And if you don't have rotator cuff problems, even that's just a nice warm-up. You can do that sitting in your chair in between rounds, just going through some movements and pretending like you're resisting 1,000 pounds and you're pushing 1,000 pounds. You can create a lot of resistance and pressure without having to have too much weight. I hope that's a helpful answer for you, Father Chuck, as far as how to use the push-up movement. And no worries, give it a shot and let me know how it feels. Maybe take a picture for us to see how you're doing it. And you can get creative here. This is where things get fun in the academy. You can make big circles here. We can do crazy big energy balls and pushes using all the muscles in your shoulders. What was the name of this, Mark, when you guys did this version with the Bella?
Falcon Hadouken.
The Falcon Hadouken. Hadouken! So, you make big ranges of motion and big circles, which talks to all those rotator cuff muscles, gets and strengthens the blood flow in there, and if you're strong enough without injury, it'll warm you up nicely for push-ups or other exercises we'll do in the future with bands and tubing. This goofball, you're welcome, Abdallah Heisenberg. Can I use your name? How does it work? Anyways, getting back to business, we've done some upper body stuff. Heisenberg's got to be tired of push-ups by now. What do you got, like 150? 200? He'll be showing off by now, eh? I want to see how many push-ups he's done. So, the theme of the day, back to anatomy, we were doing some push-ups and Father Chuck had some problems with his rotator cuff. He was worried about doing push-ups with a full body weight on him, which is a good call. So we modified with some bird dogs. Only 40. Heisenberg, you slacker. So we did some bird dogs. Then we talked about rotator cuff health and did some Tai Chi energy moving type movements, which brings us back into our hips and lower body. You'll see the position I'm in will be in some of the exercises in the academy. We're going to do basically the start of a push-up, or the start of the start of a squat or the start of a deadlift. So literally what you're going to do is pull yourself in a nice big posture, squeeze your glutes, and push your hips straight up. Sitting back and down, and squeezing up. So that we're nice and firm up top. So this is basically the top part of the squat, top part of the jump, top part of the deadlift. So much in this simple little movement. It's another one of those kill a million birds with one stone things. Oxygen, I'm glad you're enjoying things. So if you want to get real crazy, I'm not very good at this, you can pull your toes under, get into your squat, and try and get up quickly. Not for the faint of heart, but it's an example of how quick we can be with this movement. So to warm up with our squat, any exercises you see in the gym you like explained. Well, you're asking me or you're asking the stream?
The stream.
I'm confused, so many! So, it's a good question. If anyone does have exercises they're not sure about, feel free to flick it in. We'll demonstrate to our best of our abilities what it is you think you're seeing in the gym, because there's some weird stuff that goes down in the gym for sure. Well, back to our exercise at hand. We've kind of gone upper body, we're going back to lower body again. We talked about the start of a squat. The kneeling squat's a great start. This next one's called a shortstop squat, or a potty squat. So we're sitting back and down until your knees, hands get about to your knees. And then we're coming straight back up. Pushing back until the hands get to the knees, and right back up. So, we've got Chapa. I'd like to learn an exercise to widen your shoulders. So, I'm going to interpret that as perhaps you're feeling like you're internally rotated and your shoulders sit a little small. And maybe you want to fill up some more space. Is that what you mean by widening your shoulders? So this is an internally rotated position. You see it very commonly associated with this forward neck position. So Chapa, I'll talk about some exercises to externally rotate, open up your body, and perhaps have that widening feeling. Yes, that's right. Great. My interpretation skills are on this afternoon. I need some more water before I answer this one. Heisen dog, you drinking your water? All right, so widening your shoulders. So as an immediate thing to work on, Chapa, right away, start going through that big motion. So the first exercise we talked about, the shoulder shrugs, fantastic drill for you. So start internally, bring yourself as tight and small as you can, really exaggerate that poor posture. Then you can roll your shoulder blades up, pull them back, and open so your palms are forward. That should widen things up and start to talk to those muscles. So we're internally rotated, hands are in, externally rotate, get wide and big. So we're forward and down, wide and big. We got bands and we got body weight. There's lots of ways to add some additional challenge to this exercise to get your brain to really anchor things down. So your body weight is one way to start talking to the muscles. So it's a good warm up just to get wide and get as wide as possible. Generally, your lats are the muscle that's going to give you that width. They give you bodybuilders, you guys that look really wide, they've got a lot of muscular development under here. So things like pull-ups are great to strengthen and develop this, and pull-aparts. So a great way to get some more strength and challenge in here is little things like tubing and bands. You'll see this in future months and weeks of the academy. But effectively, to get things going, Chapa, you're going to grab a light tube, something you can squeeze pretty easily, about shoulder width with your hands, maybe a little wider. And if you walk from the back, you're going to take your shoulder blades and pull your hands out as your shoulder blades slide into your spine. So if you can do it, if the band isn't too tight, you're bringing the band right to your shoulders. So we're opening up nice and wide. So we're starting narrow, opening that chest, open up nice and wide. So you should feel a squeeze in the back of the shoulder blades. And me and my man Mark can give you a little demonstration of where to feel this. And put it to work. You'll see Mark in the academy a ton. He's our resident expert. One of our resident experts.
Try to imagine if this was a smaller pencil, squeezing that pencil. Yeah.
That's it. So I feel this in between my shoulder blades, and I also feel it around my armpits, the outside of my armpits where my lats are. So I get some love back in here and right in the middle. So those are the muscles I'm going to talk to get things open. So that's kind of an action thing. Are your underpants okay? Oh yeah, you got a really stretchy band for your underpants? Totally, just don't rip them. That's what you're going for? Make sure they're stretchy, all right? Not too stretchy though. So getting that squeeze, that's amazing. I want to see that. Send me a picture of you doing a pull apart. But you'd have to be some big underpants to get that. I'm 6'3", so that'd be a large pair of underpants to get that going. I want someone to send us that. I will totally do that on stream. So that's one way to strengthen those muscles in there. And the other thing you do is just flexibility. Regularly trying to stretch out the muscles in the front of your body. So our body operates in chains. Instead of just thinking one muscle at a time, think of all the muscles in the front of your body being connected. So if you can pull yourself nice and wide and really open up, that's one. Two, if you can get your hand on something and stretch out a bit more and get some tension and length on things, you can open muscles up in that region, this whole chain of muscles. So that looks like that. I can get my hand higher and even higher. The muscles on the front of the body, your big pec, is fan-shaped. So it has fibers that run in different directions. So you change the position of your hand, you change the stretch. So on a regular basis, grab some wall space, grab a little something, grab Thor, the short and curlies, and get a nice big stretch. So I'm using my body to open up. So Chapa, I hope that answered your question. What are exercises you can do to widen your shoulders? This is creating some opening in the front of our body, your anterior chain, the front, and requires some strength in the posterior chain in your back. So stretching regularly will help prevent this technology posture we all end up in, and strengthening regularly can open that back up. Okay, another question. Give me the pain. What exercises would you suggest for weight loss for people with knee injuries? So weight loss with knee injuries does make things a bit more difficult, for sure. I do a lot of boxing with my clients, and boxing is something you can do even from a seated position. But boxing is a great way to get some extra energy output without having to rely on the knees. So if walking around is okay, you can just shadow box. But even that creates some twisting on the knees. So depending what kind of aches and pains you have in those knees, you can even just sit to box and I'll demonstrate by being on my knees. Oh, someone's heading out. Take a look at the view on demand of this. Thank you so much. Yeah, take a look, answer questions or fire off questions, pardon me, and feel free to join us at Game Without Pain, Facebook, Twitter, and the Academy launches May 1st, so there'll be a lot more details of our exercises in there, obviously. But back to the boxing or around weight loss for knee injuries. Walking, if walking isn't painful, it can be fantastic. As soon as you start running or jogging, you put up to 4 times and even 8 times your body weight through those knees. So walking, even that is about 2 to 4 times your body weight. So as long as it's pain-free, walking is great. Otherwise, boxing is fantastic. And you can do this from a seated position, obviously not on your knees if you've got knee injuries. This is my mimicking seating. But just boxing alone or shadow boxing, you can get going pretty quickly. Requires a lot of abdominal strength, some muscles in the front, and you can really do this from any direction. You can practice uppercuts, pretend like you're doing big sweeping punches, and put more power in. Requires a fair amount of energy. So boxing, even just shadow boxing, can be fantastic. Multiple deep knee dislocations in the past. Started happening since childhood, kind of reason why I gained weight, for fear of dislocating my knees again. So if it's any consolation, was it sign adrift? I came into this industry and interest in health because of knee injuries. I broke my kneecap in half when I was 13. I spent 6 months in a cast and a year in physio. I tore cartilage in it later and then tore cartilage in this one. So I beat my knees up pretty good and they were always a fear for me. Moving better first was really helpful for me. So I had to work on my ankle strength so that I could balance well. So even a starting exercise for you might be working on your balance. So grab some wall space and just get strengthening those ankles. So they can be nice and strong. So when you walk, your knees aren't getting twisted around. So strong feet is a great way to start. Just working on your balance will probably be a great exercise. 2, test out the punching, but limit the amount of twisting. So big punching will cause a lot of twisting, which might take your knees off. So you can work on straight ahead punching that has less knee twisting. Other great exercises, if you got bad knees, is a rowing machine without using your legs. You can just work on the row, just that pull motion. And another great tool, again, depending on the intensity and how the knees are, is cycling. Cycling can be great. You get a bit of motion, which helps those knees, a bit of strength in the knees, but I would avoid spinning, where they clip your feet in, because that puts some funny strain on the knees. So I hope that answered your question. I'd look at boxing, so upper body strength and development. If you're okay with getting in the pool, swimming is also fantastic exercise. But some people don't like the chlorine, it's kind of tricky to get in and out of, but a fantastic tool, particularly if you've got knee injuries, because you can just work on that flutter kick, or even just kick to strengthen the legs up a little bit without pain. So hopefully that's helpful for your question. We got 15 minutes left. All right, so let's try and get a little sweat on for Super Sundays. So we're gonna go through our little warm-up quickly, and then get into some more intense exercise. And we'll pull on some of the stuff we talked about today. We'll look at some boxing drills, and maybe we'll get our lovely Heisendog to flick us a little video of his workouts, or take a little something. So we know he's not just sticking you guys here and not doing it himself. So, anatomy number 1 for the day. Our cervical region, head and neck. Right? Meant to be nice and mobile, so we want to get that stretched out. Our shoulder blades, we want to get them moving, nice and stretched out. Talk to that. This is the opening and widening we talked about, getting that widening sensation. Talk to those muscles in your upper back. This mid-back, mid-spine region, we want to be nice and stable and strong, so we're going to try our hinging, if we can, to get a bit of a stretch in the hamstrings and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If it's too tough to get down here, we can just work on hip flexor stretching. So we're going to stretch out in here a little bit. So just a rocking motion to get some stretch, and we're getting some strengthening by tucking the tail under, using the hip to push us forwards. We're getting some strength, nice stretch, and keeping this back nice and stable. So we're getting some core strength and some mobility. We'll do 2 or 3 each way. Get this groove going. Again, it's setting your pelvis. So this is nice, locked in, nice and tall and straight, and stretching out. So big stretch, big stretch. Does the Academy include nutritional information as well as the exercises? Absolutely, Oxygen. Thanks for the question. The Game Without Pain Academy will include 3 monthly programs that will focus on movement and mobility, posture and corrective exercise, and strength and conditioning. It will also include written and periodic videos directly talking about nutrition when it comes to fueling with both hydration and with food. So if you're almost positive I'll be there, I can't wait to meet you guys. Awesome. It'll be good to meet you in person, Oxygen. So I've got some hip mobility. I've loosened the hips up a little bit. I'm still thinking about my posture. So we're gonna get back down to your hands and knees and work on my bird dog. So again, kicking out. Using your breathing and getting some more power. And for our partner who's got some knee aches and pains, you can do the same drill there. Opposite leg and arm. So same kind of movement there, we're just flipping you around, so you don't have to be on your knees for aches and pains. We had a question about push-ups, so pause for a second. What's your opinion on doing push-ups on your hands and push-ups on your knuckles? One of my trainers said doing it on your knuckles will strengthen your wrist, or my other trainer says it doesn't really matter. So I'm curious what you think about it. Thank you, Bokun. Bokun? We've got, basically, we got this position versus this position we're talking about. So if you just look at the wrist joint, there's obvious differences. So depending on where your hand is, you're going to get different strength requirements around that wrist and can either irritate your wrists or help strengthen them. So you got to slowly build things up. So if you're going to try knuckles, most of us aren't strong in this position. You haven't practiced here a lot. So it's a nice way to take some pressure off the front of the wrist, but you need a lot of strength here. So what my suggestion would be is start small with just your elbows bent and work on some strength in that direction. If that feels good and you don't feel too unstable on the wrist, you can try and progress to holding yourself and then doing push-ups here. And depending how you're sitting here versus here, different positions of your hands will challenge that musculature different as well. So as long as you're pain-free, it'll definitely create some different strength requirements, but make sure you work your way up slowly. Even with push-ups, you can try different wrist positions. So straight ahead, slightly angled out. So here's one wrist position, 2, 3, 4. I can do push-ups in a variety of positions with my wrists or even holding dumbbells. Making sure that you're pain-free and you're doing a variety of different positions so that you don't irritate any one area. Respond to musculation question at the end of the stream. I'm asking right now since this is more like exercise for the very beginners. So we have one question maybe about developing more musculature and developing more muscle mass. We can actually absolutely talk about that. And Bokun's a high-level sporter, has been doing both. We're just wondering if it really does matter. It really does matter. It's good variety. You can even do plyometric push-ups. So changing position, even catch on your knuckles. There's a wide variety of push-ups you can do. It's a matter of what's aching pain and what's relative to your goals. As far as developing musculature, you'll see in the academy we have a couple streams. Right now we're just working on like basic warm-ups and basic principles for sure, but you can take any of these basic principles, Chapa, and add demand on them by adding load and repetition and time. So in the academy, you'll see us use tempo differently. So just for a push-up alone, try the difference between a 1 second push-up and a 5 second and 5 second push-up. The same motion with different time. That time under tension will force your body to respond by maybe adding more muscle mass or changing its efficiency. So if you want to make any of the exercises we do more difficult in the academy in these Super Sundays, and today was a bit more anatomy focused, we didn't do too much of a workout, you can take your same push-up and instead of one, try doing 5 seconds and 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That should increase some challenge, puts more time under tension, and help you develop musculature if that's what you're looking for. But we can stick around and answer questions later. Back to our little finishing workout. We keep getting distracted by questions, but we love them. Please keep them coming in. That's why we're going to have an extra stream or two during the week to answer more of these questions and have some dedicated time to answer some more detailed questions and give you more of a heads up at what's in the academy. So back to our little finishing workout. So we don't leave Highs and Dogs people curious what the workout was going to be today. We're going through some core and some hip. Some good power. Strengthen these muscles. Yeah, I like the number 3 to finish off with here. And 7. We'll do 7. 2, 3. Gets our core muscles working, and then we'll get some more sweat happening if you're up for it. We're gonna go through our squat pattern. So we were talking today earlier about the shortstop squat before we got into a question about weight loss that's pain-free on the knees. So push it back into your squat. If you like lifting weights, this is your deadlift. So if you have some weights around, you can follow along and go through that deadlift motion. If you've got some weights kicking around like we happen to, a nice kettlebell, you can use this as well. So we're gonna set our head and neck position, same we talked about earlier, push back. If you can get there pain-free, that shortstop squat, you can try going further. With squats and exercise, you can go as far down as you can, as long as you don't lose your back position. So good squat and good deadlift. So here's a good deadlift. If the weight doesn't hit the ground, it's a squat. These are good. These would be not good. So making sure we get that spine locked in position. So we're practicing that good neck strength, good upper back mobility, good strong neck, good strong core. And if you want to add some more musculature, you want to really challenge your muscles. 4, 3, 2, 1. And the question from Oxygen is, how do you recommend training yourself to go into a deeper squat? The goal for every squat or deadlift is, as far as you can, keeping your neutral spine and keeping your knees in line with your feet. So if you want to go lower in a squat, you can go as low as you want, as long as you don't lose your knees and as long as your back doesn't lose position. So this is an unsafe depth with load. Without load, it's fine to go here and stretch out. If you're trying to develop strength, only go so far down as you can without losing your spine. I hope that answers your question, Oxygen. So you train deeper by using the right amount of weight to make it tough to get down, to find a stretch, but only go down so far as you can, keeping your form. All right? Oh. Wow. Thank you so much for the donation. That's awesome. You can come play anytime.
Email us.
Yeah, if you have questions, email us, info@gamewithoutpain.com, or write to Ben. I'll just shoot all to his inbox, ben@gamewithoutpain.com, or you can get me at scott@gamewithoutpain.com if you have questions. What do we got here? Zurich, welcome, brother. 63 viewers. Yeah, we're doing great. This is a lot of fun. So Oxygen, I can't get past 90 degrees without falling over. So usually, Oxygen, it's a matter of ankle flexibility. So really work on your calves and your hamstrings. So if they're too tight, you get down to 90 degrees, you're gonna wanna come off the ground. So you need good flexible ankles so you can get down there. So if you have questions about depth, you can definitely find us at the EGLX Academy. And Oxygen, this one's for you. If you have a bit of weight, you can grab onto it as a counterbalance to play around. So use that to counterbalance you so you can work on playing around in there. Igatsu, you're in the US Navy. Very informative. People need this. Thank you so much, Igatsu. That's wonderful. You know, the Navy, it's interesting, I know in Canada and Norway, and I think the US military just did away with push-ups, I lied, sit-ups from their exercises. There's a lot of great core exercises that fantastic organizations like the Navy used to use. We're changing, we're modifying things. So we're trying to bring better stuff to the gamer crew. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you guys do for exercise, Igatsu. If you could send us an email and let us know what your exercise experience is in the Navy, that'd be really interesting. I think that does it for our Sweaty Sundays. I'm gonna finish with a little power outage. And I'll try some squats with some weight because I like them. So we go down as far as I can. And I'll try going slower. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. So going down slow. Mark wants me to push it up. Oh yeah. He likes the overhead press. So a squat to a press. This is an example of a complex. So this could be a soup can in your hands. This could be anything. I happen to have 25 pounds sitting around, so. And you'll notice I'm keeping my nice back and neck. As I'm pushing over my head, I'm not losing my neck position, not losing my lower back position. Good question. Chapa, fire away. I told you earlier I'd like to be wider. So you told me about that way to wider back, but not the front. So when it comes to exercises to develop that width, You need to, 1, strengthen that upper back stuff, and 2, you can absolutely add some musculature in the front. If you want to be wide, you have to train wide. So what you can think about are exercises like flies, pec flies. So having some weights in your hand and letting the weights pull you back and using the muscles in the front to squeeze forward. So you can create that width and size by both strengthening your back and strengthening the front. But I'd recommend, if you find yourself in this posture, to double up or even triple up the exercises on your back. So doing rows from different positions. The wider the row, if you have bands like we have, or you have cables and weights, different hand positions will strengthen different things on that back. I'd look at things like flies to stretch and strengthen your pecs. You can do that from a variety of positions as well. So think about pulling yourself as wide as you can with your exercises. And even pre any of your workouts, think about all of those muscles. And even just doing that sequence alone, you can see all the muscles in my back, even through my shirt, start to talk differently. So even just as a warm-up, pre and post game, start talking to those muscles on a regular basis, and they'll be more ready for you to get wide when you work out. But to come back to that answer, big squeezes, big rows, different positions, bent over rows, one-legged rows. There's a wide variety of movements you can do to strengthen your back, but think pulling, less pushing. If you're going to push, push wide. So you can do one-arm cable exercises. Throwing is a great way to get wide. Make sure you throw with other side, both arms, to strengthen things up in that shoulder. The one thing to be aware of if you're trying to get really wide is not overdo that joint. So make sure you still replace it with lots of exercises like deadlifts and squats to keep wide and stay strong. So I'm out of breath as demonstrating all these exercises. A big theme here at Game Without Pain in the Academy is you don't need to be in a gym to get some good work done. If you join the Academy, you'll see a setup like this for most of our exercise routines in the first month or two. We'll do some trips down to the gym to show you what some good options are in the gym, but the bulk of our work can be done pre and post game and on these little fun Sundays and throughout the week as well. You don't need 1,000,000 pounds around to get talking to your body. And with gaming, remember, it's a cognitively demanding sport, but the more your physical body is into it, the better your mental body is as well. So Game Without Pain, we're about gaming longer, gaming stronger, and enjoying it more. So come play. Thanks Heisenberg so much for hosting us. Zurich, thanks for coming in. Shapa, all the great questions. Again, Scott at GameWithoutPain.com. Ben, Mark, you can fire us notes. I'm out of breath from just playing around with you guys. I hope you got a good little stretch. I hope you learned a couple things. Hope to see you in the Academy. Bye for now. Someone's got to press stop because I'm drinking water.